Come along, Cooler Master MasterBox 520 Mesh. I need a little bit of assistance. I need a few seconds of something interesting to get into this review. And so far, oh, happy day, RGB fans. The Cooler Master MasterBox 520 Mesh, and goodness me, that's a name to say more than once as you practice your opening to a review. Let's go through this case, which is an ATX tower, perhaps slightly larger than some of the cases we've seen recently, such as the Fractal Design Pop. We have a thumb screw securing the main glass, which is only for shipping, that can easily be left there, and then tool free, and away comes the glass. Slightly tinted on the top, magnetic dust filter. You can see we have mounts for 120s and 240 fan units, so you can install 3 120s, 2 140s, a 280 rad or a 360 rad. At the front, simple pull, away comes the mesh front panel. In addition to the mesh, you've also got these intakes at the sides. And there we have 3 pre-installed 120mm 3-pin, so voltage controlled RGB fans. The front I/O is attached to the core chassis. 1 USB-C, 1 USB-A audio jack, and that's for RGB control. 2 thumb screws to the back panel. It's solid, slightly flexy, and that reveals the drive cage, which I haven't yet removed, so the thumb screw is quite tight. Take the drive cage, take the accessory rails, clip these into the sides of your 3.5-inch hard drives. Hard drives slide in. If you choose, you can also take some of these grommets, install those in these holes in the top of the drive cage, like that. You can do the same on the back of the motherboard tray, like that. And then using this bag of threaded pegs, install those in some SATA SSDs, and then you can add an SSD to the top of the drive cage, add an SSD there, add an SSD there. So you've got storage options which include 2 3.5-inch hard drives, 3 SATA SSDs. Back in the main compartments, you can see the cable management grommets. Not exciting, but they are present. And if we remove these 2 screws, and if you need access, for example, to the EPS connectors in your motherboard, voila. It's not quite as straightforward as a sliding radiator rack, but we've seen this feature before and we like it. And moving the cables out of the way, you can see here we have an ARGB fan hub which controls 4 sets of ARGB lighting and also voltage control for 4 fans. Given you have 3 fans pre-installed at the front, common sense says you'll install a 4th fan at the rear, or I guess you may transplant one of the front fans to the rear, and then you're either using an air cooler on your CPU, or you're going to put an AIO in the roof, in which case that comes with its own fans. My first impressions, you can put a decent range of cooling in it. It's going to take most hardware because it's reasonably large, unless you have a large eATX motherboard, in which case forget about it. ATX, however, and narrow eATX, no problem at all. It looks like it's going to flow air reasonably well. You've got some RGB at the front. What's not to like? Well, the only way to find out is to actually build a PC in it and see what we think in practice. The hardware going inside the Cooler Master consists of an MSI Meg Z690 Unify motherboard with Intel Core i9 and 12900K. That's a Sabrent Rocket 4.0 SSD. The memory is Corsair Vengeance RGB DDR5 rated at 6600 mega transfers. I could theoretically use this Cooler Master Hyper 212 cooler on that Core i9. It has the correct mounts. I don't think it would be a reasonable test of the cooling of the case. I think we'll be testing the cooling of the cooler. So I'm going to extend the courtesy to Cooler Master of using this mighty Noctua NHD15 Chromax Black. I've also been sent by Cooler Master this version 3 of their vertical GPU bracket. That's going to sell in the UK for £65. The version 3 launches at the same time as this case. Two reasons I'm not going to use it. One is £65 as a proportion of the £115 here in the UK for this case, including VAT, £120 if you go for the non-mesh glass fronted version. So essentially that's more than half the cost of the case. But the real reason for not using it is I'm using this Palette RTX 3080 graphics card, and it's air cooled. As you can see, I'm not going to water cool it, and mounting that up against the glass strikes me as a very bad idea. Power supply, Cooler Master MWE 750 Gold, exactly what it says on the tin. That's all the doing, so let's start putting it inside the PC. I made life difficult for myself when I was building the test PC, partly due to my choice of components. This case is very narrow, 210mm wide, and that's the overall dimension. Once you allow for the glass and the back panel, the inner frame is far tighter. I've got the case turned almost square onto you so you can see that the center fan on the Noctua is absolutely fine. Actually clears the glass with very few mil to spare. However, I couldn't install the secondary fan, which can either go on the front or the back of the double stacked Noctua, and given there's no rear case fan, putting it on the rear would make sense. However, that will put it above the shield over the rear I/O. Putting it towards the front will put it above the memory, which often means you have to raise it further than the center fan. You can move it on the clips up the fin stack of the cooler, and there just isn't any clearance, hence using the second fan impossible. Another issue, the power supply. My chosen Cooler Master 750 watt has a single EPS connector, and this is a Core i9, which is quite a juicy processor. Thought, well, let's try it, see if it behaves itself. Yeah, when I was doing thermal testing, the system was unstable, so I pulled the Cooler Master, installed this Seasonic Focus 850 watt, which has dual EPS connectors, and the system was fine. So with those significant provisos, building the system was straightforward. When you remove the top panel, there's loads of access to the interior, and it was while I was building the system it suddenly occurred to me that the HAF 500 we saw from Cooler Master some months ago uses the exact same approach, and I'm sure that's no coincidence. So system going together straightforward. However, I'm quite certain that I suspect this case will be very popular with system integrators, who I'm sure buy it at a significant discount. I think we're going to see this case used with an AIO in the roof. Using it with a hefty grade air cooler, I think was a bit of a daft move on my part, but that's the route I've gone down. In terms of noise testing, the three fans at the front run at a maximum of 1200 RPM, which is relatively slow, and they're voltage controlled. If you slow voltage controlled fans too far, they can get quirky, put it that way. Certainly the speeds, gauging the exact speed they run at is far more difficult than it is with PWM control. So I wouldn't personally consider running these fans below 800 RPM. I tried them at 800, 1000 and 1200 RPM. To my ears there was absolutely no difference acoustically. I had the single Noctua fan running at 1000, and that's all the fans installed. So this is what it sounds like with the fans running at any speed in essence, but really at 1000 RPM. I consider that noise level to be absolutely fine. Of course, if you're running an additional fan at the rear, if you install AIO in the roof, it may well sound slightly louder. I think it's going to be okay. The case flows air reasonably well. There's no horrible restrictions. You're not getting that noise going on. And as I got a cold, that wasn't a very clever thing to do. Running a combination of Cinebench R23 and TimeSpy stress test simultaneously. The CPU is pulling 190 watts, the GPU is pulling north of 300 watts, at the wall socket 670 watts. That seems like far too much power for the system, which suggests the GPU is actually pulling rather more than that, possibly even close to 400. Running the case fans at the front at 800 RPM with the Noctua fan at 1000, CPU temperature 92, graphics temperature 84, ambient is 24. Increasing the case fans to 1000, so all 4 fans at 1000, CPU temperature drops to 91, GPU temperature maintained at 84. Increasing the case fan speed further to 1200 RPM, leaving the Noctua at 1000. CPU temperature is now 90, GPU temperature 83. In the great scheme of things, those temperatures are perfectly acceptable, slightly on the warm side. It's a hugely powerful gaming PC and it's pushing the limits of the thermals. Before I wrap up, I gave the ARGB lighting in the 3 case fans a bit of a workout using MSI's Mystic Light software. It's an MSI motherboard after all. The lighting was exactly what you'd expect. You've got the usual range of patterns, they look okay. It's neither a pro nor a con, it's just a fact. I would say baseline RGB. I can't help but think it looks rather dark inside the case, but then I do have a Chromax black cooler on the CPU, and of course I don't have RGB at the rear or in the roof. I am very glad that Cooler Master sent us a white example of this case rather than the black, because I think otherwise it looked incredibly gloomy on video. So, pros and cons. Pros, the good points. You've got decent support for air and liquid cooling. 360 or 280 in the front or the roof. Yep, that's pretty much what everybody wants. The removable top panel gives you heaps of access to the inside of the main compartment. And you've got decent options for storage. I've installed 2 3.5-inch hard drives in the case. I didn't put an SSD on top of the drive cage, and I installed 2 SATA SSDs on the back of the motherboard tray. They went in without any difficulty. Admittedly, I didn't actually connect up cables, and the rear panel went on perfectly easily. Cons, the negative points. The case is too narrow. There's not a lot of space behind the rear panel, but inside the main compartment, it just wants a bit more. This Noctua should go in with clearance, and it goes in just, and without its second fan. The 3 ARGB case fans are voltage controlled rather than PWM controlled. This is a common complaint by me with almost every manufacturer actually. Time after time we see voltage controlled fans. The companies that do PWM are few and far between, and we applaud them. Please, PWM. I couldn't find a single novel feature in the MasterBox 520. Not one. I've seen every aspect of it before. That doesn't make it a bad case, but it does mean that as an enthusiast, I can't see why you go out to buy this particular case. It's a fine point, but the lack of novel features, I find it problematic. And finally, to my mind, the rear case fan is missing. There should either be a 4th fan, or they should have put 2 140s at the front and 120 at the rear or something. But that just looks wrong. Overall, it's a reasonable case. It's not exciting. It does a job. It's a 7.5 out of 10. It's worth considering.